After another exciting weekend of WSL action, we're here to review it. We discuss Chelsea's crucial win over rivals Arsenal, whether Man United are in the title race, how Man City showed their mettle, and much more. This is our Matchweek 4 WSL review. Alright, let's get into it then. It's Matchweek 4 of the WSL season, and what a fantastic season we've had so far. Harry, good weekend of football.
Yeah, very much so. I think it was a entertaining weekend in most games apart from one. Nothing aimed at Villa there. But yeah, it was a really, really good weekend. There were some big games. There were some games that had a lot of weight behind them. We had a couple of derbies. It was a good weekend.
Yeah, let's start then with the Saturday game. Of course, the biggest game of the weekend, I think, in many people's opinions. It was Arsenal versus Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium. Now, I'll probably do a video going more into deep depth in this, but we're going to talk about it here as well, of course. 2-1 Chelsea, with both Chelsea goals coming in the first 16 minutes. In fact, all the goals were in the first half, as Ford's goal came on 43 minutes. Do you think the result was deserved for Chelsea based on their performance, or do you think they were fortunate?
I think so. It's an This is a hard one to judge for me, because for me it was definitely a game of two halves. I think the first half, Chelsea were in control of the game for 40 minutes, and then Arsenal got their goal against the run of play at the very end of the first half, and that changed things because Arsenal only being a goal down meant they were in the game. It meant second half Chelsea then went defensive, and Arsenal were kind of on top for the second half because Chelsea sat back. So I think if you look at overall from the game, I think Chelsea deserved to win. But in that second half, I definitely think there was a chance that Arsenal probably should have and could have scored, and then suddenly it would have been a draw, and we're talking about a completely different result and a completely different circumstance. So it was a game of two halves for me, really.
Yeah, I think that Chelsea were much the better side in the first 45, as you say. I think at the end of the half, Arsenal started to come into it a bit more because they had 10 shots to Chelsea's 5, both had 2 on target in the first half. I just think Arsenal were way too wasteful with their shooting. They only registered 4 shots on target from 20 shots.
Wow.
That's not going to trouble Hannah Hampton, and ultimately the only one that did was Caitlin Ford's goal. Chelsea had 6 shots on target from 11, and that for me is the clear difference because Chelsea was so much more dangerous in front of goal, and that's why they got the 2 goals. I think Chelsea would have had a better control in the second half if it wasn't for the Ford goal right at the end of the half, which Lucy Bronze, some of the worst defending I've seen in the WSL.
Tough game.
She tries to stand up forward, show her outside. She shows her outside, and Ford just runs around her. She dives in, misses it, and Ford then goes on to score. I mean, Khadija Buchanan and can't really blame Hampton. In my opinion, I think that's too close proximity. But Buchanan's got to be firmer as well. Got to get in front of that shot.
That's going to happen.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but still, got to react to that. I thought Bronze was really poor. There's a couple moments as well in the second half where Chelsea were just trying to hold on to the lead, and you look over from where we were sat in the away end, and you'd see, well, there's loads of space on the left-hand side because Lucy Bronze, the right back, just not involved. So I did have some concerns there. I still think that there's issues for Chelsea to iron out. I don't think this is a perfect performance, but it was a much improved showing. 4 big chances for Arsenal in this game. They missed all of them. It's the story of their season. Wasteful in front of goal. And it's just going to keep plaguing them. Yeah. And then Chelsea 3 big chances and they missed 2. So they could afford to because they were good in the other opportunities and because Arsenal were quite poor.
Yeah, for Arsenal, it's tough reading because for me, they should have beaten City and they should have drawn to Chelsea at the very least. And that's suddenly 4 points. And instead they only took 1 from those 2 games. They find themselves on 5 points and they're behind Chelsea, they're behind Man City by quite a way already. It's really concerning. And that's the thing. It's not they've played badly. As you say, I don't think Chelsea were brilliant. And Chelsea are still getting to grips with life under a new manager. They're still not playing at their best. And that is when Arsenal should be punishing them. When they're not at the races, Arsenal should be punishing them. They should be beating them. And they could have. They had the opportunities to beat Chelsea. If they'd just found the back of the net, they'd have won the game. And it's as simple as that. Because for me,
that is how football works.
Yeah, I know. But I think if Arsenal had gone 3-2 up, which they should have with the chances they had, I don't think Chelsea would have come back from that because they'd already gone defensive. They've already made the changes to go to a 4-4-2 and just sit back and let Arsenal have the ball. If Arsenal had taken the lead, I don't think Chelsea would have got it back. So I do think Arsenal missed a massive opportunity, and by not taking it, they've actually ended up being quite far behind.
Yeah, I thought Cheryl Foster had a difficult game as well. I thought there were a lot of fouls she gave that weren't fouls. I thought, especially against Chelsea, there was that one for Lauren James, which I distinctly remember, that resulted in an Arsenal free kick in a great position, and there's just no way that was a foul. They both contested for the ball, and Lauren won it, and then Cheryl Foster does give us a foul. But there's a lot of those. In total, overall, I thought Chelsea were the better side for the first half. In the second half, they sat very defensive, but they got it over the line, and ultimately that's what they planned to do. Senior Blackstenius probably should have scored from point blank range. No idea how that didn't go in the back of the net, but that, they're the sort of things that just aren't coming off for Arsenal right now, and I think that'll be a real source of frustration for them. I thought it was another difficult game for Kim Little. I don't think Russo touched the ball. Again, a really tough game. Once Blackstenius came on, they had 2 up. When they moved Russo out onto the right, I thought they looked a lot better. I don't know why they kept Russo on there, though, because she was clearly flagging, clearly struggling. And I think someone, you've got Rosa Kafaji on that bench. Why not bring someone like that on just to try and bring a bit of energy into the game? But yeah, not a good performance from Caitlin Ford. Surprise, she was playing so well in pre-season. Why not start her, especially against Lucy Bronze, who we know isn't great defensively, and she's got a goal. Really good performance, and so she deserves to start next time out. But yeah, for Arsenal, obviously they've got Vålerenga coming up in the week, which is a must-win really for their Champions League hopes. And then next weekend it is where are they headed? It is a trip to West Ham, which again they really should win. But yeah, Arsenal's 5 points right now. It's not a great situation.
No, it's not. And though the next 2 games coming up are massive, and I know they're against weak opposition, but that's why they're so big. Because if they don't win both of them, then serious questions have to be asked about this Arsenal team. Because it should be comfortable against Vålerenga, it should be comfortable against West Ham, and Arsenal should have no problems. If they do have problems, if they don't win both games, I think there's serious pressure.
Well, yeah, they're 5 points off Manchester City, who they held to a draw in the opening game week. They're 4 points behind Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, have a game in hand. They're 4 points behind United, who also have that game in hand. So regardless of who wins there, they're going to be above Arsenal. They're 4 points behind Brighton. I think that will be a real source of frustration. But yeah, it's a weird season so far for Arsenal. They've had tough fixtures. Chelsea, City, both difficult games. I think the drop of points to Everton, though, is a real kick in the teeth.
Yeah, very much so. That's the thing, is that Peter will say it's early days, but the problem is
they've not beaten any of their title rivals.
If they were behind, City have drawn, but we look at it now and go, okay, well, but they can jump Chelsea if they beat Chelsea, but Arsenal can't jump City and Chelsea because they've already played them and they've already dropped points to them. Yeah. So and they're dropping points at teams they shouldn't be dropping points at. The way they're playing, I think they're in big trouble this season.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of animosity towards the other side at the final whistle, especially in the away end. But, that was more love. Yeah. Jonas is at the wheel. But, yeah, I'm not really sure you can blame him for this result. I think there are some issues, like the fact they couldn't mark Maya Ramirez at a corner, which for me would be the priority. But
they've been practising corners.
Well, as he said in the press conference, they were practising corners. That didn't really work out. But yeah, it's just another performance where I think a lot of individuals let their side down. I don't understand the decision to drop Kadena. I think that would have offered you a bit more presence in that back line than a Wubben-Moy-Williamson partnership does. But yeah, an odds team selection once again. But I don't think you can wholly blame you on the side of others.
It's one of those where the individual's not performing and that is on the team. But if they're not performing, Jonas, don't play them. If Russo, I can't remember, Russo has dropped 3, but 3 performances in a row where it's not been good enough. Yeah. Really not been good enough. So why won't you start Blackstenius? I'm just so confused as to how these play. I mean, Caitlin Ford's only just come into the side, despite the fact she scored 4 goals in 2 games in pre-season.
Russo
I don't understand it.
6.4 this season with 1 assist, no goals to her name yet. It's a tough start to the campaign.
If Blackstenius isn't starting Vålerenga, then I would be shocked.
Yeah, I think they should be starting Blackstenius, but yeah, I think the bigger issue with Eidevall now is that nobody likes him. That's the problem. The squad don't buy into his ideas. The fans seem disenchanted with him. That's the bigger issue. I think we'll probably talk about that more on Wednesday. Yeah. But there's a bit of an overview from the Arsenal-Chelsea game. Let's move on then to what was a Super Sunday of WSL action. We'll start with the game at the Lay Sports Village, Manchester United versus Tottenham. I think the first 30 or 40 minutes of this game and the other 50-60 are very different stories. I thought for the first 30 minutes, Tottenham were much the better side. I thought United looked really poor. I had no idea why they were playing Chelian Bizet at right back. I still have no idea, regardless of what went on to happen, as to why they would play Bizet at right back. I didn't understand any of that team selection, and it didn't really work for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was one of those where United and Skinner included just looked lost. For the first 31 minutes, they didn't have a clue what they were doing. Players were all over the place. No one could really tell what their shape was or who was playing where. And yeah, Tottenham were all over them, to be honest. Tottenham had so many more shots. They put United under a lot of pressure, and there were some big tackles from Letitia, big saves from Tullis Joyce that kept the game at 0-0. And then Tullis Joyce went down injured, and the game completely changed.
Yeah, it was on 40 minutes, wasn't it?
And she went down with a cut on her knee. The physio turned to her, and it gave Skinner a chance to talk to all the players. And then suddenly, after that, bam, they looked like a completely different football team.
Yeah, I mean, it was carbon copy goals really for their first and second. Jelimbize finding space out on the right-hand side, delivering really good crosses. I mean, again, shock. You get Jelimbize into a good position to cross to Elizabeth Turland, one of the best finishers in the WSL, and you score goals. I am truly stunned. But yeah, and I don't know why they played her right back, really. But she managed to get involved with 2 of the goals there. Really well taken goals by Elizabeth Turland. Again, fantastic striker is Turland. And yeah, I mean, up till that point, I think United had 3 shots, and they had 3 in additional time of the first half. I think they'd had 1 shot to maybe 2 shots on target. Again, they had 4 by the end of the half. They were at 39% possession on 40 minutes, and they had 46% by half time. So it was a very interesting last 5 minutes and then additional time period of that first half, but that propelled them, catapulted them on in the game in the second half. They were probably the better side for the large portions. I think towards the end, Tottenham started to come forwards a bit more, so that skewed the stats slightly. But ultimately, I don't think Tottenham ever posed a serious threat beyond that 40-minute mark. And then obviously the penalty, which again really silly for Ashley Neville to give that away. I don't know why her hands are up here. But there we go. Toon crosses the ball in, it strikes her hand, and it's a penalty for Manchester United. The only confusion I had with amongst that was why they wouldn't give that to Elizabeth Turland. She was the penalty taker last season at Brighton. She was on for a hat-trick. Surely you let her take it. But that didn't make any sense to me. Letitia scored though, and everyone who has her in Fantasy WSL was delighted. I don't. Very frustrating. But yeah, positive stuff for United then. I'm still not sure we can assess truly where they are, because obviously I know Tottenham's a step up in opponent, but Tottenham have been really bad this season, so I'm not sure we have any idea where Tottenham are yet.
Yeah,
because Tottenham have played Crystal Palace, which they won, Villa, which they really shouldn't have drawn, but they got a point from, Liverpool, where they were terrible. The scoreline flattered them because Liverpool kept putting them in their own net. And then United here, where they've been absolutely tanked. So I don't really know where Tottenham are yet. So I don't think we can fully judge Manchester United, because they've played Everton and West Ham, who, as we're going to get onto in a moment, aren't very good. And then they've played Tottenham, who aren't very good at the moment. So if they played Chelsea last weekend and they'd won or they'd lost, I think we'd have an idea or a gauge of where United are. We simply don't have that yet. They do play Brighton next weekend, which is an informed team. I think that will be quite interesting. They've taken 9 points from 4 games. And then they've got Arsenal the week after that, after the international break. So that's going to be very interesting. But I don't think we know where they are yet.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because I think if they'd played the way they played for the second half and the last 10 minutes of the first half, if they played like that from minute 1, Tottenham could have been in serious trouble. And I mean, that could have been 4-5-6-0. I think the fact that United just messed around for half an hour before they decided to actually play football makes the game look more even. I don't think Tottenham are very good. I think the first half an hour wasn't because Tottenham played well. It was because United played really poorly and made it very easy for Tottenham just to play some passes through the whole team.
Well, they just kept losing it in build-up to Tottenham. Tottenham would then get into great opportunities and just miss it. And there's that chance of Drew Spence, which was a great save out of Fallon Tullis-Joyce. Worth noting, fantastic performance again from Tullis-Joyce. Had some doubts to start the season about her ability to replace Mary Earps. I still think it's a downgrade, and we've not properly seen her tested, but she has looked very comfortable, and she has got 3 clean sheets in 3 games, which you cannot argue with, really. United are yet to concede in this season.
But I do think that if United started from minute 1 with the performance that they had for the majority of the game, they do look like a decent side, and I think they've got to keep that up. They've got to start using players, but again, it's using players' strengths. You get Bizet in space, you get Clinton again, another brilliant game from her. Turland again. She's that striker. If you create her chances, she will score them. Simple as that. You put it in the penalty area, to anywhere near her, and she will find the back of the net, because she's such a good striker. For United, it just felt like everything clicked. Turland found the score sheet. They looked defensively solid once they decided to play football, And, you had players like Bizet really getting involved in the game and creating a lot of chances.
The problem is that first 40 minutes, if you play like that against Chelsea or City, they score 4.
Yeah.
And that is the big issue right now for United.
I think they've learned. I don't think Skinner will ever do that, whatever they were trying in that first 40 minutes, ever again.
I've no idea. I think it will start to make more sense once Rivier's back and they can stop playing Bizet at right back.
Yeah.
And the various other weird things they're doing. But alas, Grace Clinton, another fantastic game. We've already mentioned Bizet, we've mentioned Turland, all fantastic. Letitia, good again. The player I want to touch on, though, and I know people will be frustrated because we got the same comments when we were live streaming the game, Ella Toone. Another really quiet game for Toone. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's just a tough spell for Toone, to be honest. A
tough year spell. So
yeah, it hasn't. I don't know. She just really hasn't. It just looks like United's. It feels like United are starting to move on. And by that I mean in terms of they've got players like Clinton and Bizet and Turland who are now the leaders, who can now get involved and fire them to victories. And with Toone not being involved in that, it's a bit like, well, that's okay now because they don't need Toone to create something because Clinton will do that. They don't need Toone to score because Turland's going to do that. Toone's got to start to find the back of the net and start to contribute some numbers.
Well, she's yet to have a goal contribution.
Because if
season.
not, United it's going to be a bit like, well, we don't need her contributions because everyone else is doing her job.
I think a manager with more balls would have benched her by now. I think that Grace Clinton's been much better than her
76 consecutive WSL starts to the same team.
Ella Toone, yeah. I mean, and she only had a 68% pass accuracy this game. She just couldn't string passes together. I don't think she was really involved in anything positive for United, but it's not like she played particularly bad. She didn't really do anything, and that's the issue right now. Is United want to improve. United want to be competing right at the sharp end, and you've got to critically analyse players and go, what is she offering? And right now, I don't know what Ella Toone offers Manchester United.
Yeah,
bar shirt sales. But I think she's a brilliant player, and I said as much on Sunday. But she's just not showing that right now. And for me, I question, is it about Ella Toone and where she's at right now? Does she just need a bit of confidence? Is it about Mark Skinner and the role he's playing her in? I'm not sure. It's just not working at the moment. I think once she gets firing and she's linking up with Bizet, linking up with Turland, I think that'll be a really nice combination. But it's just not happening at the moment. For me, you've got to, and you've mentioned then those consecutive starts. It's got to be a reality check to a certain extent of if you keep performing like this, you're not going to start.
Yeah.
I almost feel like she needs that. And I know people mentioned the passing of her dad, and that will, of course, have an effect. That affects people in different ways. So, that may be a reason for her poor performances this season. But it doesn't impact her poor performances last season. So I still think there's some issues there. But, yeah, I think she's a good player, and I think she will come good eventually. But she's got to be... United aren't relying on her anymore, which is a good thing. But she's just not involved.
Yeah.
She's just not involved at all. So... yeah, I definitely think there's need for a marked improvement. Let's talk about Aston Villa Leicester then. Not a whole lot to touch on in this game. A game where Villa dominated by all statistics and by anyone that watched the game's opinion. However, they couldn't find the back of the net once again. It's been a bit of an issue for Villa this season, killing off games, finishing the job. It struck again here, Harry.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those where Villa have played well in all 4 games this season, and they've not got a result from any of them.
No.
I mean, that is just... it's really, really tough. They've found 4 goals in 4 games, which isn't brilliant, but but when you consider the oppositions, they have gone to Chelsea, they have played Tottenham, although Tottenham don't look great. They have gone to Brighton, who look brilliant.
That game was weird.
I think for Villa, it's one of those they've just got to be patient. They can't keep performing like this and not getting the results. The results have to come at some point. You can't dominate games in the way they are. They can't play the way they are and not get the results out of it, because that doesn't happen in football. Like, you can't have double the shots of your opponent. You can't put double the shots on target and cause so many problems.
No, 16 to 9 shots, 4 on target to 1, 61% of possession.
They've got to score.
39%, 537 passes to 313.
It's incredible.
They had all of the
because
ball.
They've got a brilliant attack. Rachel Daly, one of those potent strikers in the league. And they've got a whole host of attackers that could rotate in that front line that can find the back of the net.
Yeah.
The results have got to come for Villa, but the performances are there. But again, you need to get points on the... It was a draw, and that's the good thing, is it was a draw and not a loss. And they are still getting points on the board in terms of they drew to Tottenham, but They should be on more points. They really should be on more points than they're on right now.
Yeah, indeed. Janina Leipzig, a really good performance from her. She had to make a couple good stops to deny Aston Villa. But yeah, it's just one where they couldn't finish the job, really, Aston Villa. And I think it'll be a source of frustration because they probably should have taken something from this game. They then find themselves on 4 points and suddenly their season looks a lot more rosier than it did before. 9th place at the moment, only 2 points to their name. Again, I think they will come back swinging, but it's been a tough start to the campaign for Aston Villa, who face Man City, of course, next weekend. So it doesn't get any easier, but after that they do, Liverpool, Man United. Not nice fixtures, but they do play Crystal Palace.
That's the problem. They've dropped points in the games that they should have won. And now they've got a tough run coming up, and this is where it gets difficult.
I think all their games are tough at the minute. They've played Chelsea, Tottenham, Brighton, Leicester.
But they should have beat Tottenham, they should have beat Leicester.
Well, yeah, based on form, they should have beaten Tottenham. They should have beaten Leicester. But they haven't played Everton or West Ham. They play West Ham last week of December, Everton first week of January. They've not played Crystal Palace yet. They play mid-November. So, it's not been an awful start to the season. There's still 3 games there between now and that first weekend of Jan where they should take at least 9 points. And then you see what you get against other opponents. I just don't really know where Villa stack up because I thought they were brilliant in the opening day against Chelsea.
I think they are brilliant.
They've competed with every other team. They're just not getting results.
That's the problem. They are a very good football team. They are playing very good football, which is why, even if they beat the bottom 3 and finish 9th, that's not where they want to be. That's not where they should be. I think they're a better football team than that. But, they've led in 2 games now and lost one of them, drew one of them. They didn't find no one found the back of the net in this game. It was a tough one.
Yeah, and Leicester didn't really come forward with any belief or confidence, I don't think. I still think that they're ironing out issues under Amandine Mikel. The team selection here really confused me. I assume Jutta Rantala's got an injury that we don't know about because she wasn't involved at all in the matchday squad. Naomi Mouchon dropped to the bench. Julie Tibau, who I thought was one of their better players from the first few game weeks. So, it's just a bit of a weird time at the moment at Leicester, but a big point, and that does keep them from being bottom of the league. So, not the worst situation.
No.
Let's head over to Crystal Palace then, because Palace actually put up a really good fight against Brighton in this game. Yes, they only had 40% of the ball, but they had 13 shots to Brighton's 11, 3 on target to Brighton's 4, and you could make an argument they were very unlucky in the manner in which they conceded.
Yeah, it was a really good fight from Palace, and once again, I think they're proving that the results in the first 2 game weeks were not a reflection of how good they are. They beat Leicester. They played really well again here today. And I do think that they are a very, very good football team. The fact they've gone to a Brighton side who have kind of beaten everyone bar Manchester City this season.
Who they probably could have got something
against. They could have got something against. I think yes, Palace didn't get the points, and points what matters, but again, another really good performance. And they will take momentum from that. If they play like they did today against any of the bottom 3, they will win, and they will beat them, and they'll get the points across the line. It was a really, really good performance from Palace. For Brighton, I think it also reflects positively in terms of, yes, the performance wasn't brilliant, and they will look at that, and they would have wanted to play better.
I thought it was still good, though. I don't think it was bad. It was just that they didn't get many shots away, but they were very dominant. 60% of the ball. They completed almost double the passes of Palace.
But the main thing as well is that they got the job done in a game that was a little bit closer than they probably wanted it to be, in a game where Palace definitely could have got something from. Brighton held firm, they got the points on the board, and that is what you need to do.
Yeah.
If you want to be a top side, if you want to climb the league, you've got to get points even when you're up against it a little bit. And they did well to get the win across the line.
Points mean prizes in football, and at the moment Brighton are claiming a lot of points, 9 points from their first 4 games. The only team they didn't take points from, as you say, was Manchester City. They face United next weekend. I think that's going to be a really interesting test. I think they'll be well up for it. We didn't really talk much about the goal. Do you think it should have been disallowed for a foul on Yanez? For me, Yanez comes out for it, misses the ball. I don't think Paris has nudged into her. I think Yanez has run into Paris. I can see why there's frustration because obviously the 2 players come together. However, I don't think there's enough in it to disallow it for me. I think it's just a bit rash goalkeeping from Yanez. She's going to come out. You've either got to claim it or get fouled. She wasn't really anywhere near the ball in the end. She just sort of ran into Paris. The ball spills down to Via Maya. I think it took a nick off Kirby as well. That was the issue. Yanez went out to compete with Paris. There's a touch on from Kirby that then took it away from both of them. Yanez ran into Paris. I don't think that's a foul on Yanez. And then at the back post, Via Maya finished it.
Yeah, Paris is behind her. She can't. I don't think Paris really does anything with that. I think, especially if you watch it stopped, you can see the kind of the body shape of Paris. For me, it would have been harsh.
She's not nudging into Yanez. I don't see any grounds to rule that
She's just stood there. She has just stood there. And she can't really get out of the way as Yanez is moving about and trying to get to the ball and getting thrown around.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Palace have put up a good fight again here. They'll be annoyed they didn't take any point from the game because they were quite good in it. They did come forwards quite well. But again, a good performance from Palace, and they're definitely showing they can compete at this level. And let's move on then to our relegation. 6 points of where no one won. Just in general, nobody wins in this scenario. Everton and West Ham drawing 1-1. Everton finally scored a goal, but it didn't come through a player of their own. We'll start with the West Ham goal, actually, to be chronological. It was a nice bit of play, actually, from down the left-hand side. Really nice link-up. Ueki plays inside to Asai. He realises the shot's not on. Asai turns, lays off to Anu Denton. Really good finish from Denton. I think it took a nick off a defender on its way to goal. The game, nothing really happened of note, to be fair. There was one big chance which West Ham scored, and that was it. 16 shots to 14. Everton put 6 on target, West Ham put 4 on target. There were chances at both ends, but neither side was able to create clear-cut opportunities with any sort of consistency. And so I think for me that's the biggest issue plaguing these two sides. Everton's goal was very fortunate in how it came about. They came down the right-hand side. Lawley looks to put a ball into the box. Says, I have no idea why, but she decides to just kick out at it as it's coming in. It just spins up off her boot, flicks up in the air and sails into the far corner. It's just, a bit of a weird one, a weird way to concede for Everton. I think it'll be for West Ham, it'll be frustrating because, Kinga Šemić made some fantastic stops to deny Everton. Everton really struggling though in front of goal. But yeah, they'll be. I think West Ham will be annoyed because they probably should have won this, and I think they are a better side than Everton right now. I think Brian Sorensen's body language on final whistle said it all. He just looked deflated because they'd taken a point, but it was another game where they just didn't play very well. Yeah,
there's problems for both sides because, as you say, West Ham really should have won this game, and then suddenly they would be in a very, very nice position because they'd be ahead of 3 teams and they'd be joint with Crystal Palace. It would look much nicer for West Ham. For Everton, they're in trouble. I think you have to say it. We've seen 4 games now. They're in big trouble. Yes, they got a point at Arsenal, but that isn't a reflection on Everton. That's more a reflection on Arsenal.
Very good defensive display from Everton on that day. I thought Corny Brosnan was fantastic. But
I think Arsenal should have scored. It's one of those. Everton just this game summed up. Those two will be at the bottom because they're both now only joint with Leicester and Villa. They're both behind Palace. There's already it's already stacking up that they're going to be at the bottom.
I just don't see where the goals come from for Everton because they just have no threat. I thought that Payne added a bit up front for them, but bar that, they really don't have anything.
No one has scored a goal in 4 games for them.
Well, exactly. Camilla Say's helped them out here by putting one in her own net, but she is Everton's top goal scorer indeed. But yeah, I mean the stadium announcer announced it as a goal for Melissa Lawley.
Everton have put it down as
how have you come to that conclusion? No way was that on target. But a bit of a strange game. I think West Ham will be the more frustrated. I think Everton will be a bit more relieved than frustrated. Everton face Leicester next, which is a game they really need to be trying to take something from because Leicester have not started particularly well. West Ham welcome Arsenal, which they did win last year, so you never know. Maybe they'll do the same. Let's move on then to the big game, the final game of the game week. Liverpool 1, Manchester City 2. And for so long, it looked like City wouldn't find that 2, that second goal. But a valiant effort from Liverpool. City inevitable though.
Yeah, a brilliant game of football, and I think most of the credit has to go to 2 phenomenal strikers for either side. I think the first half was the Olivia Smith show, the second half was the Khadija Shaw show, and I mean that's a show we've watched every single week for the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's a show. Boring. I don't want to watch that show anymore. The Olivia Smith show, very good show. Highly recommend to all your friends watching the Olivia Smith show because that was a fantastic performance. It's a shame she had to come off obviously at half time with that injury. Her and Haug starting to form a really nice combination. I thought Liverpool defended valiantly throughout. I thought the midfield composition was fantastic. Nagano and Herbinger, got Pox as well in that front three also offered a lot. Just fantastic across the board. Then obviously it felt inevitable that City would wear them down. Liverpool's biggest issue right now is not the 11 out on the field. It's the fact you turn to their bench and you wonder what's going on. Because at one point Laws went down and Tanya Daniels is getting up to potentially going goal. She's a striker, in case anyone doesn't know. Which insane situation. They have no midfielders on their bench. They have no wing backs on their bench. And you could see Parry was struggling in that game. You could see that Taylor Hines could have done with being subbed off. Just a bit of energy in those wide areas. The wing back role is so difficult. You have to be up, down, and to have no rotation there. Really tough on the players. And I think that's what's hurting them at the moment. Liverpool, they've just got no fresh legs. And eventually, as City kept pushing and pushing and the attacks kept coming in their waves, it made it very difficult for Liverpool to I don't know, not concede. Eventually, City scored some goals. Khadija Shaw, what a player. I mean, City 76% possession in the second half. That was, to be fair, it's both halves actually, it's weird. But 14 shots to 7. Only 2 on target though. The 2 shots they put on target went in the back of the net.
And that's incredible.
That, for me, is a real source of frustration for Liverpool, because if they just limited them, maybe they'd held on. Liverpool had more shots on target of 3. 5 big chances of Man City.
Yeah,
and they missed 4 of them. They only scored 1, obviously, and Shaw scored another good goal.
That's clearly Shaw. That's what she does. And you look at Arsenal, who have so many shots on target, they score already. Shaw gets 2, she scores 2, and that is why City are such a good 15. That is why she's one of the best strikers in the world, because she does that. But Liverpool.
Let's not forget she hit the woodwork moments earlier. That could have easily been a hat-trick for sure.
I mean, another brilliant performance from an incredible footballer. I think for Man City, it was very important they won this game. And what they've proven is that even when they're similar to what I said about Brighton, even when City are up against it, even when they're losing and they need to win and they're in a scenario where they could be dropping points, they recover it in incredible fashion very, very late on. That's what you need to do if you want to win leagues. That's what you need to do if you want to stick with Chelsea. 10 points from the first 4 when you've played Arsenal in there. Not a bad start to the season. I think for Liverpool, they'll take a lot of positives from this game though. They played very, very well. Hopefully Olivia Smith is going to be okay for the rest. Is going to be okay for next game week and for the rest of the season. Hopefully we see Matt Beard back on the sideline. I mean, not even he's fit, and hopefully he feels better next week. But
everyone's
they're
like flies at Liverpool at the moment.
They're losing so many players and staff just to illness and injury. It's incredible, but a really good performance. They'd have wanted to take something from the game, but they can take a lot of positives. I think the table, they could be on. For me, they could also be on 10 points, which is incredible. But
exactly.
That's football.
The table tells lies sometimes. That's the case a lot of the time, actually. Liverpool probably should have taken something from West Ham earlier this season. Probably should have taken something from Leicester. Deserve something, in my opinion, from this match. But I mean, I think there's a lot of positives there that Liverpool can look at from their performances. They've been really good despite their lack of depth. I think if January is only 2 months away now, they could be looking to make a move in that window. So. Yeah, it's not all bad on Merseyside. They've had some really good performances. They'll be gutted to have lost in the manner they did. For City, as you say, it's a testament to that character and to the quality on the side. They just get the job done. Touching on the Liverpool goal, brilliant from Olivia Smith, but Yamashita, really poor goalkeeping. Yeah. She steps the wrong way and then she can't recover to make the save. And I just don't understand why she's playing. I really don't get it. I think Kiara Keating's a much better goalkeeper. And does Keating save that? Undoubtedly she does. Well, so that's the bit I just don't get at the moment. I get she's good playing out from the back, but does that really substitute the fact that she missed that save? Yeah, and that's the thing. I think it's a brilliant finish, brilliant strike, but if Yamashita steps right rather than left, then she makes it. I mean, I don't really know why she's trying to predict where Smith's going to go, because you can't. From that range, why would you step left? Because how do you know she's going to hit it to the left? You don't. Yeah, she thinks she's going to cut it across goal, but just stay in the centre. The fact that Alexandria was there blocking that opportunity, I don't understand why you would then decide to go that odd decision. Either way, City, they got the job done. 3 points on the board, season right back to the top of the table. And so I think we'll take that into our little look at the table then. So top is Manchester City on 10 points. And we've got Chelsea 9, Manchester United 9, Brighton 9. Of course, Chelsea and Manchester United still with the game in hand on Manchester City. If that game was a draw, then we'd have 3 teams joint top,
Wow.
which would be very exciting. In 5th in the table, it's Liverpool with 5 points. In 6th, it's Arsenal with 5 points. A really tough start to the season. Only 4 goals scored, 4 goals conceded for Arsenal. Tottenham have had a very difficult start to the season. 7th place, 4 points on the board. Then Palace on 3 in 8th. Aston Villa 9th on 2. Leicester City 10th on 2. West Ham 11th on 2. Everton bottom on 2. Yeah, it feels like already we're getting that bottom 5, which Villa wouldn't want to be a part of right now, but they are for now. And I think Leicester will probably climb out of eventually. But for now, under new management, not getting the results, they're both in the conversation for now. After that, we've got the underperforming Arsenal and Tottenham, and the tough start for Liverpool, when they really should have taken more points than they have. And then we've got the top 4. That bracket of teams are having a really good start.
I think the top and the bottom are starting to take shape. No one has a clue what's happening in the middle. They'll sort themselves out eventually, but it's crazy.
Well, will they? Are Arsenal too far off it now? That's the difficult question.
Well, they can still get 3rd, though.
But
unless Man United...
Is that enough for either?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because Arsenal were 3rd last season. They were 3rd the year before.
But they won the Conti Cup, so
maybe they'll win the Conti Cup again. But yeah, already 5 points behind Manchester City, 4 points behind Chelsea. Chelsea could open that gap up to 7. That is an outrageous lead. That's an almost unassailable lead to Arsenal.
But even if Chelsea don't win that game, Arsenal are in a position now where if they beat City and Chelsea, they're still behind them both.
They could still be behind them both. That's the big issue for them right now. So, yeah, I just don't see how they're going to catch that up. And I know they play Manchester United in 2 game weeks, and on form, or after the international break, on form, you can't say that Arsenal are going to be comfortable there at all. Then they face an informed Brighton. They've got West Ham next, which has to be a win. If that's not, they're out of the title race. That's the simple fact of it. If they lose to West Ham, the title race is done for Arsenal.
And if Chelsea and City won't lose to West Ham,
but they won't. They're not going to drop 9 points over the season, and with Chelsea it could be 10.
Yeah.
So it's utterly ridiculous at the moment. The poor performances that Arsenal are putting up. They've lost to Chelsea. They've drawn with City. It puts them in a really tough spot, especially with that draw to Everton as well. So, tough start for them. But overall, a fun start to the WSL season, and it's been such an unpredictable game week. I think someone put it best in our comment section the other day. I can't remember what it was on. Might have been on stream, might have been a comment, but they just said that... Oh, hang on, I've forgotten it now.
This is good.
Yeah,
quality.
Really strong point. But it was after the City game. It was saying how City may not. It was actually on Twitter. Actually, this is the most convoluted sentence ever
on a social media platform somewhere.
I will spit it out eventually. Manchester City, whether they lose or draw to Liverpool today, what we are seeing is that there is unpredictability in the WSL, and teams will drop points. To teams in the mid-pack. So it's going to be a very exciting season of the WSL. But yeah, good start. We'll be back with more next week. We've got Champions League fixtures to look out for over the next coming days. We'll be live for both of the Wednesday fixtures involving Arsenal and Manchester City. Unfortunately, we're not about on Thursday to stream Chelsea Twente, but we will be, I don't know, we'll talk about that probably in the weekend streams. We are back this weekend as well with live streams. We've got 2 coming your way on Sunday. Manchester City versus Aston Villa at 12:30, and then at 6:45 it's Chelsea versus Tottenham. So another big weekend of WSL action for the international break. Very exciting times. But that is everything from us today. Thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.